Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a much requested breakdown of my PYXIS Creator Rig. Some people have been reaching out to me after seeing some of my shorts on Instagram, which is motion picture hardware, and asking for a breakdown of the Creator Rig and an explanation in terms of how it's been put together. So that's what today is. But also I want to talk about the 3 things that I've been developing and are pretty much ready to go and should be shipping in January, which is the PYXIS side plate, the LiDAR extension arm, and the top L bracket for mounting your transmitter. And in this case, the Accsoon Cineview Master 4K transmitter. But it'll work on other transmitters as well. And in addition to being able to mount it on the top of the PYXIS, you can also mount it on the side using the side plate as well. So this is the PYXIS side plate. You can also see one on there as well. So I've designed it so you've got multiple 1/4" 20s and locating pins. You've also got the Arri Rosette connector. And more importantly, you've also got a 15mm rod attachment. So the reason I designed this plate was that a lot of people have been building cages for the PYXIS, and a lot of the cages have just been these massive Faraday cages that have these huge chunks of metal that go all the way around the PYXIS, and in my opinion they're totally unnecessary. So I designed something that was a lot simpler, specifically for gimbal use, that had an integrated 15mm clamp in there. And if you wanted to take it off the gimbal, you also had the option of adding additional accessories via the Arri Rosette connector. So that's why I developed this plate. In addition to that, there's a long slot along the bottom where you can pass through 1/4" 20 screws if you wanted to attach something that needed to go from the reverse side of the plate, and then you can attach it back onto the plate. I've also done it in such a way so you don't have to take the existing plate that ships with the PYXIS. You can just bolt it straight on and away you go. I've also designed this small L bracket, and that allows you to mount the Accsoon on top of the PYXIS. The issue is that if you try and mount it the same way you mount the Raven Eye underneath the gimbal using the standard DJI configuration, these antennas and the length of the unit is going to be too long and it's just going to stick out too much. With the PYXIS, if you mount it on top, it fits very neatly with the bracket that I've designed. So that was the reason behind the bracket. And finally, with the LiDAR, you know that as standard it comes with a bracket. The first version of the LiDAR had no 1/4" 20 underneath on the connector, and it only had a cold shoe mount. The second version has a cold shoe mount, but it also has a 1/4" 20, but still, because it makes an angle and it takes it higher up than it needs to be, I've developed a very simple system so you can take this, you basically swap the original connector for this using the same screws. With this, you then have a pass-through slot, and then you can attach it any way you see fit, depending on the connectors you have and the way that you've rigged your system. And away you go. You'll have a better way of mounting your LiDAR system with this. So let's get into the rig now. Power on. Okay, so the first thing we have is, of course, the shoulder rig. When I did the original Creator breakdown a year or so ago, the original behind the scenes from the Creator, they weren't using a tilter rig, but over the past few months and over the years, it's turned out that a lot of people have gone for the tilter rig because it's quite a sturdy rig and it's, you know, a solid piece of gear. But you can totally, like I did in previous videos, make your own system using 15mm rod clamps and whatever handles and stuff that you want to use to do that. But I've used the tilter, the shoulder rig. And this bit here is also part of the tilter shoulder rig, and the heavy duty gimbal L bracket goes onto the shoulder rig. So the heavy duty gimbal L bracket, you've got it here in red, and I've also got the L Connect plate on the back. The L Connect plate, it gives you basically an array and literally thousands of combinations of how you can connect different connectors to the back of the heavy duty gimbal L bracket. That's just giving you lots of options. And here I've got a small rig battery which is providing D-tap power. So I've got D-tap out of there into the small rig base plate. So like I said in my previous video, which I'll link above, the small rig base plate is my preferred plate to use because it has an in and an out on 2-pin LEMO, whereas the DJI one and also the tilter ones don't have in and out on LEMO. They only have in and therefore if you want to then run the camera off of it, you can't do that. But with mine, with this particular scenario right now, I'm not running it out, but in the past I have done, and now I'm just using the battery on the camera. So we have the small rig base plate, and then we have the tilted dual handle here. So this dual rear handle is not absolutely necessary, but again, the whole point of the Creator Rig was that you have multiple points in which you can hold your rig. So if you wanted to shoulder mount it, obviously you'd use the shoulder pads and the arms. If you wanted to have it underslung, then you just hold it by here. And you can also control the gimbal using the joystick up here, and you can also stop from the trigger up here, and you can also adjust the focus from down here, from up here as well. You can see focus being adjusted there, and at the same time you can adjust the focus down here, so you can do it from either point. Obviously we've got the gimbal. In terms of the other bits here, this is the remote handle that comes with the DJI expansion kit. And with the expansion kit, you get a short control cable and you get a long 5-meter control cable. Obviously, the 5-meter control cable is not gonna be the correct length for going on the shoulder rig, so you use a shorter one. And with that, like I said, you can control pan and tilt and all the usual gimbal functions, as well as start and stop recording. In addition to that, you also have the quick release Arri connectors here, so that you can quickly adjust the angle at which your handles are at. You have the quick release mechanisms here and on the other side here as well, so that again you can just quickly press that down and then you can adjust the handle to the direction and angle that you want. So in a previous video I explained how I made this 90-degree angle and why you had these here, essentially so that you have extra ways of holding it. If you wanted to hold it at hip height, for example, then that makes it easy. So you can hold it at the top and then you can hold it on this handle here as well. So again, you got the quick release mechanism here, and you can do it like that. In terms of the gimbal, you have the LiDAR system being attached here to the bottom of the tripod plate via a connector and the arm that I've created. In addition to that, I have some custom weights on the bottom. If you can see them, I got some custom weights on the bottom there to balance the PYXIS. The interesting thing about the PYXIS is that because it is long, when you put the battery on, you see it's quite long, center of gravity where it's balanced. So to be able to make sure that it stays balanced when you've got any length of lens on there, you have to have a really heavy weight on the back, because you can't actually push the PYXIS back very far because of this battery. But what you can do is take the battery off, and then you use a 2-pin LEMO, and then you can push the whole camera back. But then you got to run the camera off of a D-tap, and that will give you more space in the back to then be able to have heavier lenses on the front, and maybe you won't have to have such a heavy weight on the back. So that's just a little bit of a breakdown. So I've got the transmission, the Accsoon Cineview Master 4K transmitter on top of the PYXIS, and like I said, I basically used this bracket that I've created, which you'll be able to pick one of these up if you'd like in January once I start shipping them. There will be shipping in limited quantities, so you need to go and register your interest to make sure that you don't miss out on that. So thanks for listening, and I hope you found value in that. If you do, it'd be great if you can like, subscribe, share, do all those great things that make the algorithm happy, and I'll see you again in the next time. But before I go, I want to remind you, you can go to my website, motionpicturehardware.com, and you can pick up the heavy-duty Gimbal L bracket. So in January, I plan to be shipping the PYXIS side plate, the transmission bracket, and the LiDAR arm. So if you're interested in getting one of these, just drop a comment below and I can send you some more information, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay lucky, stay blessed.